Well, it's a great pleasure to welcome Logicalis to the 2021 Cloud Conference. Morne Laubscher is the Chief Technology Officer at Logicalis. He joins us. Hello, Morne. It's good to see you. We're going to be talking about turning change into opportunity that takes real vision to do that kind of thing. Morne, how are you doing? Firstly, good to see you.
Very good, thank you, Aki. Great being here.
Good stuff, man. Listen, before we start, could you provide us an overview on Logicalis and what is your role and what you guys do?
Sure. So we're a international systems integrator. We are based out of 27, or operating rather, in 27 regions across the globe. South Africa is one of our more recent divisions that we've opened. The South African operation where I am based services South Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been trading for just under 5 years now. We are very pleased about what we've been able to achieve. When we initially started the business, we actually set up as an offshore center of excellence for a lot of the other Logicalis regions. And so that allowed us to build a lot of world-class capabilities that we've been taking to market locally,
Yeah.
as a Microsoft Global Partner and a Cisco Global Gold Partner. And interestingly enough, during this terrible pandemic, that's put us in quite a fortunate position in that we're able to acquire skills where a lot of integrators at the moment are needing to unfortunately shed those skills. So
That's interesting.
very, very interesting. Yeah.
So, what differentiates you from your competitors, for example? And the pandemic, as you say, has been challenging, but it's been good for you guys. Where do you see the company going, say, in the next 5 years?
So I think for us, the core discipline here is certainly that we don't have any legacy or deficit investments that we need to service, because although we are part of a reputable organization, that's 20 plus years old, we're a fairly new subsidiary or region. And so we were able to build this business from the ground up with digital transformation in mind, ensuring that we embrace the new approach to how one would digitize organization, looking at heterogeneous technology approaches, ensuring that we take the complexity out of technologies to enable organizations. Add to that the fact that we're certified across the ISO stack, ITIL aligned, GDPR compliant, very relevant with POPI now. And so we're taking these modern services to market. The vendors are certainly loving what we have to say. We're a Cisco Global Gold, etc., Microsoft Global Partner. So I think the next 5 years, the statement would be watch this space. We're busy with big things in the market, certainly.
No, listen, good luck, Monet. It sounds like you guys are on a fantastic trajectory. Now, digital transformation has become the buzzword, right? Everyone is talking about digital transformation, and rightly so. I mean, it is what's driving the world right now. What does this really mean, according to you, Monet, and an organization like yours? I mean, for example, how does it drive that business value that we all talk about?
So our vision at Logicalis is that we are architects of change. And effectively, that speaks to our ability to take the complexity out of technology for our customers, to allow them to drive business outcomes and success through the application of technologies and digital platforms.
Yeah,
So, historically, it used to be that organizations would embark on a very lengthy strategy or trajectory with one or two vendors, and
right.
that would be how they enable their organization. Well, that world has changed. It's now a heterogeneous modular approach. One needs to be able to design systems and apply technologies in your company in a modular fashion. You need to be able to augment your business quite quickly with things like artificial intelligence and machine learning. Organizations like Microsoft has done a great job democratizing AI. It used to only be available to very sizable organizations. A handful could afford building these solutions themselves. Any business now can augment what they've got with these capabilities to drive insights, to understand the data, to pivot how they service their customers, how they more efficiently go to market, and what they take to market. But in order to do that, you need this heterogeneous modular mindset on how you approach digital transformation. I always say it's a journey, not a destination. You
Yes.
need that mindset of constant change and constant review. Yeah.
And I guess, Morne, I mean, you've really explained that digital transformation concept pretty interestingly. But it's also important to note that companies need to actually do this. You know, you cannot stay stagnant today, and just carry on doing business the way you were doing it pre-COVID, right? I mean, things have really moved on, and I guess digital transformation is ultimately enabling that business sustainability.
Absolutely. The adoption of digital solutions during this pandemic, the growth has been exponential. And I think what has happened is, a lot of the platforms were very easy to adopt and sort of really happened out of a bit of a crisis situation. But now that things are settling down, we need to really look at the long-term implication of these technologies and how we manage them and what our strategies are going to be as organizations. And I think that's where we are really well positioned to assist with that. For a business to be able to support multiple technologies in a rich ecosystem is a very expensive exercise. And I think we're well positioned with a multi-skilled approach in that space. But certainly, I think going forward, after this growth of digital transformation and the adoption of digital technologies, we now need to look at how we're going to sustain that and what strategies we need to implement in order to succeed in this new normal.
I guess it's part of the journey that you were talking earlier. I mean, when you look at the research that's come out from PwC, 70% of digital transformations across the world fail to be successful, right? Which is interesting, and I'm not hearing this for the first time. Why do you think this is the case? Why does digital transformation fail, and what can one do to mitigate this failure? I mean, what is successful digital transformation? What does it look like? Why do some fail? I guess I'd love you to outline the challenges and ultimately the goals, but you certainly see a lot of digital transformation failing as well. What have you guys learned?
So I think, the first statement would be that digitization or digitally transforming your business, there's no end state to that. It's not just a adoption of technology or a radical change in how you look at platforms and systems in your business. It's driving a new culture of constant innovation, ensuring that the technologies are easy to consume. I think one of the biggest failures in the digital transformation space is adoption. You can get stuck quite easily in the art of the possible with regards to technology, but forget that you've got people that need to utilize this technology, and ultimately these solutions are there to enable them. So, driving, first of all, a modular mindset from a architecture and solution design perspective, and then secondly, driving a culture of tech-savvy leadership and a embrace of constant change is how you set the business for success. You need to be able to augment your organization constantly with these new features that are being released almost monthly by the big hyperscalers, for instance. If you see digital transformation as an end state, I think that is a massive mistake. And if you think digital transformation is a technology journey and you exclude the people and the adoption and the learning, teaching process you need to take everybody through, I think that's also a massive pitfall that we see now.
So that's interesting. And I guess that what's happening right now is, you can't just start the journey. I mean, a lot of people were jolted at the beginning of the pandemic, remote workforces, companies needing to do more with AI, data analytics, etc., etc. The reality is that the technology is constantly evolving, right? It's evolving, and organizations need to assure that they're not left behind. So it's all very well to start on this digital transformation journey, but you've got to continue to evolve. And I'd love you to talk about the role that the hyperscalers are playing in this accelerating digital transformation background, and how organizations should ensure that their digital transformation journey is really part of the business strategy, And guess where I'm going with this, Morne, is that you cannot stay stagnant. You've got to keep moving, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what the hyperscalers has done really well is democratize access to, like I explained before, at scale services, that smaller organizations typically did not have access to. Microsoft's got this great story around the citizen developer. and making available all these very intuitive platforms that make it easy for someone in a business function within an organization, not necessarily a technology division, to automate and drive new platform adoption to streamline their workday. Similarly, so like we said, artificial intelligence and various other features are available. So I think that's what the hyperscalers are doing really, really well, enabling us as anything from a startup all the way through to a massive enterprise to be able to quickly innovate, pivot around market change, augment what we've got with additional new exciting features and capabilities and systems. And that's certainly what you need to plan for in order to succeed from a hyperscaler perspective. If organizations want to prepare for digital transformation, I think it is important to understand that historically, businesses, and I've read a few books around this, were very focused at understanding the finances, right? So the leadership of organization, how you manage your organization, and where you drive a business was very focused on where the finances are at and how we're doing from a financial perspective. And although that will always be absolutely critical, I think it's important that businesses also adopt a culture of digital leadership. You need leaders in your business that understand the data and that understand all the data points across all the areas in your business in order to drive insights and in order to pivot your organization for whatever means or goal. That is very, very, very critical.
Oh, that's really fascinating. Morne, how can organizations ensure that they remain relevant, that they've got the right relevant expertise to ensure that they're on that right path with their digital transformation? So you're on there. How do you stay on that path? And you need to have the right journey. We know that skills are a massive challenge as well. But what do organizations do?
So I think the first realization one should go through is that you don't need to build it all yourself. So there's a lot of organizations out there that really has the desire to build, run, and maintain their own solution sets or platforms or infrastructures. With this massive heterogeneous requirement in the market, I think there's a real need for organizations to realize outsourcing to a multi-skilled supplier of shared services is okay. Logicalis being case in point, I've explained the capabilities we had earlier across multiple disciplines. You don't need to build it yourself. That's a very expensive exercise. Looking at which service providers have invested in these skills and could potentially provide these skills to you at a better rate is important. Like we said before, the modular approach and the mindset around being able to augment quickly and embrace change from an organizational perspective across your employee ecosystem is critical. And then that leadership with data insights instead of just the focus on the financial component. I think those would be the three major factors.
Sure, Morne, absolutely fascinating chatting. I mean, you talk about the modular approach, and I guess that, not all organizations have all of those skills, which is why you would go to somebody like a Logicalis to say, listen, I need this specific skill for this particular project, this particular implementation that I'm doing right now. It's not necessarily that you're going to employ that certain someone to permanently do that, So it's that modular approach, which is really, really critical when you try and think of this digital adoption, this digital transformation that's taking place around us. And yeah, absolutely, we certainly don't know everything. Morne, what's been your aha moment since the pandemic, since we've started this digital transformation journey? I mean, many organizations were on it before. In fact, most were probably on it somewhere on the line. But I guess what COVID-19 did is really accelerated and fast forwarded this by 18 months. So what's been your aha moment, Morne?
So for me, it was certainly, the embrace of technology, the fact that big monolithic organizations realize that they can work remotely. We look at what's happening in the US, the big resignation, this whole culture shift around being able to generate healthy livelihoods in a completely new work environment. That was the big moment for me. I think the world has forever changed. Post or pandemic, we were talking about the fourth industrial revolution. Yes. I think this is it, right? It's absolutely there. The other thing that I think is quite relevant is I don't know if you know the swan concept, right? These events that forever change humanity. It used to be that historically, we'd have the internet be one of those, or the creation of the wheel. The wheel bearing industry is a $50 billion industry, etc., and they were far between and few. Today, I think we are in a world, and we will be in a world in this new normal and post-pandemic, where we'll see exponential black swan events. And that excites me. That's my aha moment. How humanity will forever transform, and how the rate of innovation will accelerate with the adoption of technology we've seen over the last year and a bit.
Awesome stuff. Morne Laubscher, the Chief Technology Officer at Logicalis. Thank you so much for joining us at this year's My Broadband Cloud Conference. Thank you so much, and really explaining how opportunity takes vision, how this change is impacting us around us with this digital transformation. Morne, thank you for your time.
Pleasure. Thank you, Aki.
Take care.